Thanks for staying with us here at Fairbanks Focus Alaska View. I'm Nanette Pearson, and I'm on location today at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and I'm joined by Holly Carroll. Hi, Holly.
Hi.
And Holly's here to talk to us about FRAME. You're the coordinator for FRAME this summer, is that right?
That's right. And FRAME is a filmmaking class. It actually is an acronym that stands for the Film Reel Alaska Mentorship Experience. And basically what we do is we make a full film, including, industry professionals from, last year it was from LA, and then also local professionals. And we shoot an entire film with students on set in all the various roles that you find on a film set. So it's really fun.
Cool. And so you actually pair up the mentorship part of the experience. You actually pair up a professional with a student, is that right?
Exactly right. So we have a director, we have an assistant director, we have a cameraman, we have a sound mixer, we have an editor. And so basically the students the first couple days will learn what all the departments do on a film set, what the roles are, what the kind of rules of how to communicate, because it can be kind of a stressful, fun, fast-paced environment. And then they get to decide what department they'd like to work in, whether they'd like to be in the art department, the sound, camera, and then we pair them up with mentors, and then we just go out there and film it, and they learn what it's like to interact on a film set, interact with real actors. Last year we had Hollywood actors, so those are kind of special skills to learn.
Well, and it's real hands-on, so it's like a real
Absolutely.
intensive, you're at a real film set, so you're there all day doing film, making sound, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. In fact, a real film set is often 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and we mimic that same kind of schedule. And it can be stressful and it can be hard work, but it's a really great way to learn if this is for you. We are developing a film industry in Alaska. We have the Film Tax Incentive Program, and so movies are coming here, and they are looking for Alaskans. And a lot of time production assistants are needed. There's staff needed in Grip and Electric. And so by providing this class locally and giving people the chance to try it out, they can see if it's maybe what they want to do for a living. And by simulating that really stressful 12-hour environment, it's a great way to say, can you make it or not? And a lot of people really find it super fast-paced and fun. So it's a good way to try it out.
Well, and it's not, I know that film students, university film students are welcome, but it's not just relegated to film students. It's not just a university-only type of production, am I right?
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, last year I was a non-student. I hadn't been at UAF at all, and I saw a flyer for the class, and I had made some documentaries, and I was like, ooh, a real narrative film, and you get to learn all the departments and how it's supposed to be done. And I signed up, and I was actually put in the script supervisor role, which I hadn't even heard of that before. And that's a really fun department where you're watching to make sure things are continuous and that the editor has enough footage to work with, that there's no problems with camera angles. And I had a ball. I liked it so much that I applied for this job when it came open, coordinating the class. And I work with Maya Selganic, who's the head of the film department. She created the class, got the funding put together to invite these outside mentors. And now I just kind of help publicize it, do the books, the budget, try and help recruit students. So yeah, it's a great time.
Well, and then the other thing too, I always like to let people know, it's not like these are people just paired up with a professor. These are people who work in the industry that come to work with the students.
Absolutely. And last year we made a movie called Mining for Ruby. Posters right there. And, that was kind of amazing because we had a local woman, Zoe Quist, who's gone and worked in the industry in California. And she came back and was the mentor. Her production company was mentoring. And, there were Hollywood stars in the film. And so we even had a real makeup artist, and we kind of learned that there's certain etiquette for working with Hollywood stars and models. And it was really neat to kind of learn how those people operate. There was a lot of trips to Starbucks for lattes and things like that. There was a lot of gluten-free food. You really got to cater to the stars when they come to town, but that's also something that's really good to learn. And then we also had really approachable actors too, so it was really neat to be like, oh my God, here's this big Hollywood star. And they're really quite cool, and they just joined me on Facebook. How nice, So that's really fun, and that's a kind of a neat experience. If we can bring these outside people to interact with locals, it's like everybody wins,
Well, and it's such a cool industry, and there's so much work to be done. on any film set. So like we were talking before, you have like the art department, you have someone running the camera, you have someone running sound. I don't think most people actually realize what it takes to make a movie.
Oh, absolutely. So last year, to put it in perspective, we had a crew of 10 mentors, cameraman, director, the art department. We had 30 students, and there were some times when there was not enough people to do all the jobs that needed to be done. And some people, like you, were doing 2 jobs at once. And so it's pretty crazy that to make a film of that size, a 2-hour movie, a love story, it took, 40 people the better part of 3 weeks. This summer, we're going to do a short, and we've got a director who's originally from Alaska. His name's Andrew McLean, and he directed On the Ice, which is a fabulous film. You can find it on Netflix. And he is going to come in, and we're doing a short film, which should be slightly easier to achieve in a 3-week time frame. But it'll be really amazing because he's going to bring in some mentors from New York. He's affiliated with New York. He's also an Alaskan. So we're going to try and tell a more Alaskan story this time around. And so we're really excited about it.
Cool. Well, and I know that there's funding available too. I mean, you don't, like I said, you don't have to be a student. The class is about $600, give or take. And so for some people that's a little bit hard to both get the time off of work and pay for the class.
Exactly. And what's really neat about, like you were saying, the film industry is it's getting bigger in Alaska, and there's all these jobs. And the state of Alaska realized that this is a workforce development issue. And last year they set aside a pot of money to use for tuition grants, essentially to help people gain skills in this developing industry. Now, some of that money is running out, but there are still the potential for tuition grants available. I got one last year, and it was great. I mean, basically paid for the class. I then took the class and became qualified to work in the film industry right away. I got a job on a reality show in Anchorage, paid work right after taking this class. So it's a system that worked, and it worked for a lot of our students. Probably 50% of our students were offered or got paid film work, either on a movie that came to town, or on a reality show, or like another series in town. So it's really vocational. So it's a really neat thing we got going on. The tuition grants are limited though. So what we're recommending is that you go to uaf.edu/film/frame. You can learn all about the program. There's links to how to register. There's links to how to get the tuition grant. And the sooner you apply, the more likely you would be to get that grant, because they're just on a first-come, first-served basis. So.
Well, and it's such an amazing opportunity. Like you said, it's a really way to build a vocation. And so
Absolutely.
People who are interested in maybe changing their vocation but aren't ready to just dive right back into school, this is a great opportunity for them to actually work in the film industry.
Absolutely. And even as a hobby, the film productions don't come here that often, and when they do, they have short, intense schedules. There was a movie recently filmed about a crazy mutant polar bear. It was called Unnatural, and they called us and said, who can you recommend for production assistants? And that's the other thing, is that because the University of Alaska has this great film department now, if you come and you just take this one class, you work with Maya Salganik, she tends to be this nexus for all the film and television crews that come to town looking for work. And in the film industry, a degree doesn't appear to matter as much as just, have you had experience and is someone recommending it? And so it's pretty great. It really can lead to direct employment. So it's really worth a try. It's a lot of fun work,
Yeah, well, and it's not that long. It's a 3-week intense. And so, like you said, it's long days for those 3 weeks. But I mean, you guys are providing food for people when they're there, transportation to get places if there's somewhere off campus they need to go. And it's not just filmmakers; it's also editors, post people, the whole 9 yards.
And the other thing is that you actually there's a big online database that all filmmakers in the world get credit on. It's called IMDb. When you're finished making this film, you get a credit listed there. And that's pretty cool if you do want to work in the industry. It looks great on a resume. You see, hey, my name was on the credits for Mining for Ruby. You're watching this feature film and going, I helped make that. And that's pretty neat. Documentaries, even if you're just interested in documentaries, filmmaking is kind of filmmaking. And if you learn the challenges of filmmaking, they're going to help towards documentary work, they're going to help towards narrative filmmaking work. What we're doing is narrative, which is basically telling fictional stories. But the components of filmmaking are very similar, whether you're doing documentary or film. So if you have any interest at all in filming, being an editor, running your own camera, learning what it's like to make a story from vision to visual, this is a great class.
Well, and it's such a neat class, and I know that you guys are. When does the class run for people who are interested in possibly signing up for it? From when to when do they need to see if they can be available?
Okay, so it is intensive, as you said. It's May 27th to June 14th. 6 days a week, so it's Monday through Saturday. So it is a big time commitment, but like you're saying, for 3 weeks, you become instantly qualified for being a production assistant, or if you work in grip, you could get grip work. There's a lot of that kind of work in town here. So it's not much time and energy commitment for the kind of vocational reality that'll be like, a career booster for you. So
Yeah,
plus
no,
it's just fun,
Yeah. Well, and you get to work doing things that hopefully you love. So
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. And can you tell me a little bit? Are you allowed to tell us a little bit about Andrew McLean's movie? What they're doing with Frame this year?
Well, I will say that it's an Alaskan story written by an Alaskan, and that's great because there's not always as much of that on television as we'd like in cinema and stuff. And so, the Maya Selganic has done a great job of trying to make this film program at UAF not just, great for making you qualified to work on films, but also trying to incorporate, Alaskans as filmmakers and get our narratives out there. And this story, I think, does a great way of doing that. It's a little suspenseful, it's positive, I don't want to give too much away. There is a car chase scene, which I'm pretty excited to work on filming.
It'll be really exciting.
Right, at least crowd control should be fun. And yeah, so I think it'll be really exciting. And if you want more information, just go to uaf.edu/film/frame. That's FRAME. Thank you very much for helping me get the word out.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today at Fairbanks Focus. We really appreciate it, and we look really looking forward to seeing Mining for Ruby when we can see that out there, and the film that Andrew's coming up to work with the students on this year.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.